Hey guys, so how are you doing? Just a second here. 1 second. That sun coming in, sometimes it's so bright, it just makes it unbearable to be able to talk to you all. But I'm really glad that I'm here, and I'm glad you guys are here, and I hope things are going well. I hope you guys are well. It's a bit crazy in the world right now with all the vaccine and COVID and all that stuff that just constantly is after us and in the news. And I just pray to God that you guys are using these videos to be able to cope, to be able to manage yourselves, to remember that life is about you being in control of you and that you can't change other people. I mean, sometimes you just have to tell yourself that this is where they're at, and until they can get some kind of insights and self-awareness, that it's just not going to change. So anyway, not to spend time there, because what I want to talk about, sorry, I'm having a little trouble with this camera, is, and hold still, okay, there we go. What I want to talk about are the essential 10 things for a healthy relationship. And actually, there's a bonus one too that I think is important. And the reason I wanted to do this is when I've sent out surveys about what people, my followers needed, I was kind of surprised. I mean, there were some things on there that I thought, ooh, wow, that would be a great topic. But most of it comes back to what is healthy and what they should be thinking of and talking about. I do want to encourage you, if any of you have questions, let's use this time for your questions. I'm a licensed therapist. And even though it may be a little, like if you ask me something that's pretty detailed, I might not have time to go into all of it, but at least it will give me an idea of where you're headed. And then maybe I can come back on the comment board and comment a little bit more later. I'm always a little cautious about just giving out advice since you're not my client. But if you're my follower, my subscriber, then I feel like, okay, they kind of get where I'm at, and they know how, and you all know how to reach me, and from there we can just try to make it work. So anyway, the first of the things is going to surprise you maybe, but I think for sustainability in a long-term relationship, and I'm talking about over 5 years, that basically you need the component of joy. It doesn't mean you're joyful all the time and you're not high, but joy is more the ability to still see the simple beauties, to smile with each other, and to feel joyful that you're with this person. It's deeper than appreciation. Joy is just those moments that fleet, and yet we're just like, when we look back at our life, it's like, oh my God, this partner brings me such moments of joy. Joy is an important component too, because it helps even out the relationship when times get rough, when situations are in crisis. The factor of joy really helps keep us afloat and buffers us from a lot of that pain that many times we have to go through in a relationship. The second is gentleness. Why do I say gentleness? Gentleness doesn't mean passive. It doesn't mean being quiet. Gentleness is an attitude. Gentleness is an attitude that, you can look at your partner and just, you can be the strongest person in the room physically, you can be intimidating physically, but if you're able to be gentle and still, touch your partner softly with your words and your hands, I think that's so important. And gentleness is an attitude of being very considerate, almost like as you would endear someone. That's what gentleness is. When I look at my relationships and I think of my partner especially, I see the component of gentleness throughout the years with my children, with different animals we've had, and that's really important in a long-term, sustainable, happy relationship. Respect. Respect is what helps build trust. It helps build security. Respect builds confidence, and it also builds a sense of community between the two of you. You have to be respectful of your partner, and that extends to respectful of their space, of their privacy, and of them being independent of you, but yet choosing to be with you. Communication. Communication is such a broad topic, but emotional engagement on all of these is what I consider to be under the big umbrella of communication. Can you emotionally engage with this person? Can you be there? Hi there, I see ya. And can I communicate what I'm feeling to my partner? Or does your partner stonewall? Do they withdraw? Do they keep everything inside? They can't tell you how they feel. These are the differences. I think in a healthy relationship, each partner has to be willing and able to communicate where they're at, what they're feeling, and what they think will be helpful for the relationship. And those are my 3 standards for communication for any of the clients that come into my office. Intimacy. Intimacy is so much more than sex. Intimacy is the ability to connect on an emotional, spiritual, and physical level with your partner. You know when you're intimate with someone. You know when your partner is good at expressing intimacy, because you can feel that connection even when they're not there. I can be in a chapel in a whole nother country and yet feel my partner's intimacy within me. Like I can feel that intimacy if I let myself. When you're intimate, it means that you both understand that this relationship is bigger than the two of you. There's a sacred space, a sacred component, and that's really what motivates you to want to protect it. Trust. Without trust, there's not a relationship. And when couples say, I'm in a relationship, but we don't trust each other, I'm like, well, then you're not in a relationship. You're in something we call a situationship. You're two ships that just kind of collided. But if there's no trust, don't get me wrong, there just can't be anything else. It's the bottom line. When couples have infidelity with emotional affairs, with financial affairs, with physical affairs, what notoriously happens is it crumbles trust. And when you crumble trust, you're basically exploding or burning the relationship, because it won't be able to sustain that. Empathy. Empathy is the ability to put yourself in your partner's shoes, in their eyes, and be able to feel what they must be feeling, or be able to understand what they may be feeling, and to be able to comfort them with that knowledge of your empathy. And basically, when people are really good at expressing their empathy with each other, they talk less. There's very few words that are needed. They can feel that so exclusively that they don't need to. It's much deeper than our voice or anything else. It comes from within us. It's a look, and they know that for sure. Greetings to you too. I hope you guys leave some comments if you have any questions because I know I'm going through these rather quickly, but I think time is of essence on these livers. Equality. When you are with a partner, you have to be on equal grounds. You have to decide that you're the co-leaders, the co-creators of this relationship. In a healthy relationship, you co-create something that's bigger than either one of you, but yet you have to be able to understand that you are both on the same ground, that you're both level at beginning this creation. There can't be one person subservient to the other, because I know some faiths preach that, but I'm telling you, in my view, that does not work as well as two people with equal power designing and creating and negotiating the relationship. Growth. You know, the growth mindset, people say all the time, Mary Jo, what are you doing talking about growth mindset in psych? Well, because the brain changes, and I'm very much into the research of, you know, brain, its plasticity, its ability to grow, its ability to change. That's why when people say, I don't want you to change me, I'm just like, what are you talking about? Like, you are going to change if you're alive because your brain is going to demand it. The brain is constantly grabbing and learning. It's what you learn. And I think when people say that to me, well, I don't want to change, what they're really saying is I want acceptance from my partner now. I wish you would say that if that's what you want, because you are going to change. And if you did do something like, I'm a headstrong person and this is who I am, well, first of all, I would say, well, then I don't know why you're alive. Because honestly, if you're alive and you're breathing, you're a living thing, your brain is making changes. But you can challenge those changes and you can grow those and nurture those changes so they work for you as a partner in the relationship, or you can let those changes rule you and put you in an area that jeopardizes your relationship. So that part of it is up to you, but do continue to watch the videos, to do the homework, and to grow and be in control of those changes that are happening within your brain, making you the best possible version of yourself that you can be. Consistency. A relationship does better long term if it is consistent. And I don't mean monotonous. I don't mean the same level. I'm sorry, I just missed that last comment. I was in a train of thought, but if you put that up again, I promise you I will answer that. Consistency means that who you were yesterday with your habits and your attention, you will be today too. It's a follow through, if you will. I don't mean that I want you to have boring relationships. I mean that there has to be a consistency. When people are real dramatic or up and down, many times they're struggling with their mental health. Oftentimes, too, that is very unstabilizing to the relationship. So it's important that you do have a consistency of follow through. Now, the bonus one, and I think it's an important component, not the most important, but it is important, is independence. And that's the ability to be independent of your partner and to still maintain who you are. Communication is a problem for me. And her, she doesn't open up to struggles with her family. I don't think people can change. They need to evolve. This is a big topic in my marriage. True. So the first one about opening up, yes, your partner needs to open up. But the only way that some people can open up is if they are given a safe space within the relationship. So I'm going to tell you something about opening up. What are your views on a pregnancy, transparency and privacy? My partner doesn't like me knowing what's on his phone. That's another great question. Okay, so about opening up, people will tell me all the time, my partner doesn't open up. If you were raised with parents, and yes, it does go back to your childhood, if you watched parents when they opened up or they were vulnerable get attacked or blow up, like people were very dramatic, then you learn very early to keep your stuff to yourself. Or maybe if you're a guy, your mom or your dad told you, boys don't talk like that. That's sissy stuff. I don't care if you feel sad, go outside and go for a run, or I'll give you something to feel sad about. What you learn is you keep that stuff inside, right? So then when you're with a partner, you're stifled. You're only half a person because you realize I can't tell how I feel. This can happen to women or men. It depends on your family of origin. So when you get in a relationship as an adult and your partner says, I want you to open up with me, I want you to trust me, they're going back, well, crap, that wasn't I wasn't able to do that when I was a kid, and that wasn't a safe place. You have to talk about each other's past, and you need to find out what they need in a safe space. I'm saying this because I learned as a partner to my hubby that he was raised in a family where guys, it was all boys, and guys were not allowed to express themselves. So I got a guy who, when he felt something, I never knew. He would never be able to say. He'd just sit there. So I had to we had to create that safe space for him. And you're going to have to do that too. The other thing about privacy, now there was another question. I'm sorry, you guys, I forgot because I'm on a train of thought. The one about privacy, if your partner doesn't want you to see their phone, if they're working with the FBI or top secret thing, I kind of get that. But then they've got another phone. Like that's their work phone. And I get if they protect that. But if someone protects their phone because they're trying to hide or they're ashamed, or they don't want you to know what's on there, and that becomes a big fight, as a therapist, really suspicious. Because my attitude is, if you have nothing to hide, then I don't know why I can't see that. If there's something on that phone that is going to hurt our relationship, if I see it, then I don't think you're being as transparent as this relationship needs to be. The other thing that I'm going to tell you about this is when couples get together, and I don't think a lot of therapists, especially marriage counselors before marriage, tell clients this, but I think it's really important. You guys decide right then that the relationship is the boss. So it's not me, it's not you, it's a relationship. And so when you have a problem with your partner, you don't attack your partner. You tell your partner, you know what? I'm struggling with a feeling that I get when we're together, and I think it's bad for the relationship. And then your partner says, well, tell me what's going on. Well, it happens when I start feeling jealous or insecure when you do this behavior, or when you do this behavior. And then you say, because you always explain what it is. And it makes me pull back from the relationship. When you tell your partner that, then it helps your partner understand the dynamics of why. A friend of mine has started therapy after your video on the guarded heart. I am a patient. Should I get myself a timeline to decide? I am more open to intimacy than she seems to be closed. Took on that and wants. I didn't see the rest of it. These go so fast. They're so different than like Facebook. I'm sorry, you guys. I'm catching on. Anyway, so I think what's important when you're arguing, and I want to say this because it's so important, that you formulate your arguments or your concerns around the relationship. Let the relationship and its well-being be your focus. Not how you feel so much, but what's better for the relationship. Because there's less attacking that way, and it kind of aligns both people to focus on the relationship. About the guarded heart video, I love that video. And if you think that you're going through that and you're not able to resolve those, like how you feel like extending yourself, still protecting your heart from getting hurt, I think therapy is a wonderful option. I do think that really helps. I've actually seen partners help a partner who has that. And of course, they were in therapy, so I don't know if it was a mixture of what I was saying. Yes, that makes sense. I'm going to try that. Thank you. You're welcome, Natasha. I think when couples are able, it's all about the space you can create. Remember one of the videos I talk about the importance of that safe space? You have to establish that early in the marriage. She is reserved about intimacy. This is really killing us. Being reserved about intimacy is different than not wanting sex. And being reserved about it usually means it was frowned upon, it was awkward to talk about it in their childhood, and they don't feel comfortable with their body. She needs to find a sex therapist and talk to. That's the answer for that last question. Before I leave, though, let's just establish the sacred space. The sacred space with you and your partner is something either one of you can bring up. But you make sure there is a space within your dwelling where you can both sit. And I even have a space where I just say, okay, this is our sacred space. This is where we go when we've got something heavy to talk about. And I think when we go there, it's kind of looked forward to. Like we each have a glass of wine, and then something about that space. And I'll try and do it when we travel. Like let's just find a sacred space here and talk about it. Like we did a hike in the wilderness, and we did that, and it was really lovely. But this one we have in our home, I relax and he relaxes, and we just totally are transparent. And it's almost like, I don't know how you guys grew up, but I grew up in a Catholic faith. Going to confession, after confession, I know I'm telling you way too much, but after confession, I would always feel good, because it's like, my God, I just told that priest everything, and it got it off my mind and off my shoulders. I felt relaxed. Well, that's what this sacred space is for my hubby and I, and it's the same for him. And there's never any yelling. There's not defensiveness there. There's just a space where we're each safe to be real, to be honest. And you might say, well, we have that all the time. This is different because we call it that, and there's a different feel for that, and we reserve it. Like we have a high respect for that space, so nobody can just go in there. That is ours, and we protect it, and I think that makes it really special. So anyway, guys, I gotta go. I promise I'll come back. I have a beautiful home, but I cannot find a place where the lighting's really great, and I refuse to use all these filters and lights, so you just get me raw here. And I apologize if it doesn't look good, but you know what? At the end of the day, you're not here because it looks good. You're here because you value my training and my therapy and my work, and I am so grateful for you all that you feel that way. So thanks, and have a lovely day and a wonderful weekend. Bye-bye, you all. I promise I'll come back. We'll do this again.